John Adams said, every problem is an opportunity in disguise. You said every problem is an opportunity, and opportunity is there all the time. Can you give me an inspiring example of a moment in your life where you thought that things were over for you, but then you doubled down on working your ass off, and later on, in hindsight, realized that in pain and problems lie the biggest opportunities?
I remember when I was poor, in the pocket, not the mind. I went into a Walmart and I had to call my bank because my bank account had overdrafted by $16 in order to buy groceries. And it was the lowest time in my life because I felt ashamed that I couldn't even afford groceries. And at that time, I could have gotten a regular job. At that time, I could have said, fuck this shit, I'm going to quit. I could have said, oh, this is another person's fault. But I looked at that situation and I said, I never want to experience this ever again. And the first thing that I did was buy the book, Reminiscence of a Stock Operator. And I said, I'm going to learn about the markets. And ever since then, it's been an upside. And it was that situation that made me feel disgusted with my current living conditions that instead of complaining, led me to change. And, you know, I would be in the bus. I would take the bus for about an hour to work, and then I would take the train for about another hour. And every single day, just learning the basics of psychology of trading. I don't do technical analysis. I'm purely a value-based investor, and I bet on people, right? So if you look at my investment plays, it's me betting on people, dude. I don't take credit for anything. I don't take credit for any sort of investment that I make. I just bet on winning horses, and sometimes they play off. So I bet on CZ, I bet on Luca, I bet on Mark Zuckerberg, and they don't disappoint.
So in those really hard moments, it's how do you take the pain and turn it into fire in the belly, basically?
You don't have a choice, bro. When you're at the bottom, what do you have to lose? When you have nothing to lose, you have nothing to lose. How much? Like how many? You're gonna live 80 years of your life. How many years of that life are you gonna live broke? I want to experience wealth. I want to experience the good life. Now, I've already experienced this side of reality, the shitty stuff, having to eat ramen noodles, sleeping on couches, sleeping in my car, pressure washing basketball courts, cleaning toilets. I've done this shit. I don't want to do it for the rest of my life. I experienced it. I'm grateful for it. I'm thankful that life gave me the opportunity to learn these things. But it doesn't mean that that's what I want to live for the rest of my life. So it's not, oh, me, poor me, dude. My life has been just blessings on blessings on blessings. I'm glad I wasn't born in some country in the middle of Africa or in the Congo where I have to mine lithium out of the ground, or that I'm getting bombed in the middle of nowhere because of my beliefs, or because the United States decided that they wanted to free my country, right? So just the fact that I have the opportunity to wake up, I'm healthy, it's a blessing. And I think that the fundamental shift is two things. One is a good attitude. Wherever you see productivity, you're going to see a person with a good attitude. And the second one is gratitude. Being super grateful for what I have. When you're grateful, life is going to continue blessing you. When you're ungrateful, when you are selfish, when you are blaming others, when you're negative, pessimistic, life will simply project what you give it. So I wanted to be positive, and I always believed in myself, and it worked out.
And in those moments that are really hard, actually, that's when you kind of, because as you said, you don't have the choice. That's when you're actually the best, like the better version of yourself. Because I'm not sure about the expression in English, but in French we say you basically
say it in French.
Le dos au mur. You have basically your back against the wall, right? Which means you have no other option. And so when you have no other option, because there is no other option, you make it work. And that's why I really encourage my friends who are like, hey, I have this job, but I want to start this company. Just take the leap. Because when you take the leap, you have no other option. Like as long as you keep your job and you have this money coming in, like you have the option, right, of failure. Whereas when you start, it's like, okay, now we always say, take the leap and the net will appear. You have to build your plane while you are falling, right? Otherwise, you're going to crash on the floor. And it's really in those moments that the best shit happens. In those moments that you turn these really bad moments and where the opportunity, where the problem is an opportunity in disguise. It's exactly that.
And you know, I was talking with the former president, the son of the former president of Singapore, last name Ong, and obviously he comes from wealth. He comes from a family that has been able to really educate him. And he said every problem is an opportunity. And it's how you see the situation that determines the action that you're going to attach to it. Are you going to see a problem and be like, well, I can't change? Or are you going to see it and be like, I can do something about it? Where there's problems, there's profit. And where there's problems, there's business. And if you can identify that, you can make a whole lot of money.
We talk about business, making a lot of money. Obviously, we need to talk about women. Because you have really interesting takes on women. So the first question is, in relation to making money, are women a hindrance for men to become rich?
The wrong woman, yes. The right woman will empower you. She will fuel you, she will inspire you, and she will push you towards becoming a better version of yourself. I've only been with one woman my entire life. I'm still with her. I've been over 10 years. She was with me when I had nothing. She would drive me to work. I had no car. So when I started having things, or, you know, I got everything that I wanted and I became somebody, how could I let her go? You know, so she believed in me. She trusted me when I had nothing, and she valued me when I was poor and insignificant. And now that I've achieved some sort of success in some way, shape, or form, it's only fair that I bring her along for the journey. So my perspective is very simple. Find individuals that will empower you. And if you can find a partner that loves you for who you are, but also empowers you to become a better version of yourself, stick close to that person, be loyal, be honest, be kind, be authentic, and keep those people around, because there's not too many people in life that are gonna want the best for you. And if you can't find a good woman, if you can't find a good partner, it's usually a reflection of you, because you attract people. And if you attract poor people, well, it's most likely a condition of you. If you attract hoes, it's most likely a reflection of you. So if you need to, or you can't find somebody of high caliber, of high quality that polishes you, stay away from it. It's funny. I was going back to Meow. He was like, he was asking me today, he's like, should I be dating a ton of girls? I'm like, no, just like find one person that just empowers you and elevates you, and stick true to that individual. Now, it's different philosophies for different people. Anybody can do whatever they want. But for me, it worked out extremely well. And it all comes down, and I'm not married, but it all comes down by one thesis. There's a verse in the Bible that says, he that findeth a wife findeth a good thing. Not he that findeth a woman that has the potential to be a good wife, but he that findeth a wife findeth a good thing, and finds pleasure, or finds honor in the eyes of God. So you also begin to study wise men throughout history, and most of them were corrupted by women. So I understand how tempting it can be, but I also understand that if you find people that can empower you, it can take you to the top.
So what was your advice to Mew? Because especially in today's world, and that's something that Andrew talks about, which is, as a man, right, the game is very different. As a woman, you can, I wouldn't say as a woman, the dating game is easier. It's much easier to get the guys you want, but then it's not easy to keep them and to see who is full of shit or who is really serious, right? As a man, it's kind of harder, because most of the women, they go for the top, 5% or 10%, 1% men. And so for a man, it's more about how you build kind of respect, right? How do you build your personal brand, and how do you build your life so that women respect you and you attract them instead of the opposite, having to chase them.
I agree.
Especially if you're building things, you don't have time to date like crazy. It's impossible. Like,
I
it's
agree.
just that 2 time. It's a job in itself. Just dating around.
Yeah, I mean, it's imagine you have to entertain 10 women. Like that's a lot of maintenance. It's like having to entertain 10 multiple different things. It can be for you. Like if you can handle it, so be it. If that's what your cup of tea, that's when you enjoy it, perfect. But for me, it's not an ethos that I've operated or that I've enjoyed. And I've talked to Andrew about it. We haven't talked in a while, but I've talked to him about it. I was like, hey, when are you going to settle with one girl? And we chuckled about it. We laughed about it when I was out in Romania. But yeah, he has a different perspective about it. It's totally fair. He's become highly successful with his philosophy of life. So mine just is a little bit different, but to each their own. Yeah.
What should be the priority for a man? Taking care of your family, wife and children, or pursuing your mission at the cost of not seeing the ones you love and care for?
Live a life of balance. Why not both? Why not both? Why not, divide your time into all the things that you enjoy? Why not divide your time and your attention into multiple areas of life that are valuable to you? If, you didn't have a good father, well, you have the opportunity to become a good father. If you had siblings that took care of you and empowered you when you had nothing, bring them along for the journey. Right? If your mama's not retired, what the fuck are you doing driving a Lamborghini? So it's all about perspective. There's priorities and different people have different priorities, but I think that there's a novelty in finding balance and understanding that there's a beauty of sharing success with your family. There's a beauty of seeing your family winning with you. And even though they may not help in the sense of your business, they took care of you for fucking so long. You owe it to them to give them a great life. And yeah, I think you can have both. That's that. And I'm a living testament of it. My parents I pay their salary. My parents work within my organization. They're basically retired. I'm not going to retire them. Oh, just go play bingo all day. They don't want that. They want to be involved in what we do. They want to be involved in the ecosystem. They want to see us develop. So why not take care of them? And I think that there is a beautiful balance in taking care of your friends, taking care of your family, taking care of your loved ones, and still pursuing your dreams and your goals. I don't think that you have to sacrifice one or the other to have the other.
What do you think about the more kind of materialistic side of things? Watches. I mean, I know you like watches, cars, all that stuff. Do you think it's a moment that everyone who kind of like builds wealth has to go through to realize, oh man, Luca was saying the same actually. I was like, oh man, I'm so fucking stupid. I bought this car there. It made no sense. Like, what's your view on that?
It all depends on what you enjoy. I kind of went into the watch game after NFTs because I was like, oh, cool. Like I can start collecting. I got interested in the space. I kind of had some boys that were reselling watches. So I built a $1.25 million watch collection, but I only wear 2 of the watches. So it's like, I'm there sitting and I'm like, was it a little bit of a waste that I have all these watches sitting in the vault? Did I okay, it's a good investment. Yeah, that's cool. But do I need these things? And then I have $1 million Pokemon collection. I'm like, okay, like what the fuck am I doing with the Pokemon collection? And then I bought a $4 million house and I'm like, there's people coming into my house every single day. And I have gardeners and I have cleaners and it feels like a hotel. So I sold the house. And then I was like, I want to be light in baggage. I want to be able to move. I want to have that flexibility. So I started getting rid of a lot of my material possessions to simply be able to free up my mental real estate. Because when I had a small fleet of cars, I got rid of them because maintenance, focusing on making sure that they're taken care of. Same thing with the real estate. I think real estate is a great investment vehicle, but I don't want to manage properties. I don't want to have to worry about maintenance. Yeah, other people can do that for sure, but it's just not my cup of tea. I want to be light of baggage. I want to be able to be free flowing. I like to travel the world. I like to stay in hotels. Like I like to be free. And that means that sometimes material possessions hold you down from achieving great things. So I want to stay away from things that I really don't need. Miyamoto Musashi famously said, get rid of things that are of no use. So if something doesn't serve you anymore, and maybe it served you in the past, you don't have to be attached to that thing.
Mm.
And so if he says, and he's a great samurai philosopher, but he says, don't do things that are of no use. And I begin to explore that philosophy, and I begin to only do the things that are useful, and I begin to not realize that my success is attached to materialistic things. They don't determine me. They don't determine my identity. Yeah, I understand the perspective of playing the game. You know, you sit down, you have a $50,000 watch. Somebody may look at you in a different way, but I've never sat across from a billionaire, and I've sat down across 6, and they look at my watch and be like, I want to listen to this guy because of what he's wearing or what he's doing. Most of them, you could see them walking down the street and you wouldn't even recognize them as billionaires.
Very low key. Absolutely. The most successful people, super low key.
Because they have nothing to prove.
Absolutely.
You know, one of my business partners, we have a crypto fund, and he invested in Bitcoin sub $1, 2011. But he dresses like a bum, you know, and he's my boy, but he has nothing to prove. And you look how he travels, very light, very simple, easygoing. And that just shows a level of confidence that money does buy.
Absolutely.
It's a level of confidence that money actually buys, but you see it exemplified through the simplicity of life. And Leonardo da Vinci famously said, which is one of my favorite quotes of all time, he said, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Being able to simplify your life in such an incredible way that it's so easy to live.
I think there is this meme that I saw the other day. It's so funny. It's basically poor, no car. Middle class, average car. Rich, Lambo. Wealthy, no car. Basically, it's exactly that, right? And so you kind of, and the common topic that I have with most people who come on this podcast who made, most of them, they made hundreds of millions or billions. And they're super humble, super chill. And most of them, they went through this kind of like entire loop, right? Or this kind of like life round tripping or happiness round tripping, which is, hey, I thought I needed all that stuff. I'm building towards that. I'm making all this money, just to realize that it's back to like the basic things. And it might sound like a cliche or, oh yeah, the basic things make you happy. But if you can't be happy with a coffee, you're not gonna be you're not gonna be happy with a jet, right? So it's just like all these people making the same realization that at the end of the day, yes, obviously you want to have a minimum amount of money, which we talked about before. We all have goals based on our lifestyle and all that stuff, right? But there is a threshold or a certain amount above which doesn't make any difference, and happiness will never come from that.
Yeah, and also understanding that it's not just happiness, but your identity isn't attached to those things. And you know, sometimes I talk about like my crypto losses, you know, but my identity isn't even attached to my crypto losses. It's not attached to my crypto wins. It's not attached to my investment wins or my investment losses, what I have, what I don't have. It's simply, am I pursuing my fullest potential? Am I being authentic with myself? Am I an actual person that is true to my values? And it goes back to what I said in the beginning. When it's all said and done, I'm laying on my deathbed. Can I look at myself individually and say, you did well, you succeeded, you didn't compromise your values? There's a verse that says, what does a man prosper if he gains the whole world and loses his own soul? Nothing. So I don't want to gain everything and lose myself in the process. And I think that there's a massive virtue in accomplishing that. And that's why I don't attach my identity to my wins, to my losses. I'm just trying to experience life. I'm trying to learn like everybody else. We're all on this planet trying to figure things out. And if we can be authentic, that none of us have it all figured out. We're all just trying to play this game the best we can. Then you can walk with a little bit more graciousness, a little bit more truth, and be light of baggage and focus on pursuing your fullest potential.
Maybe as a good wrap up, what's your biggest fuck up?
In crypto or in life?
I'd say life fuck up.
There's so many.
That's a good answer.
They keep
That's
flashing.
good enough.
They keep flashing. I'm like,
This one. Oh no, this one.
I could have bought Bitcoin at a cheaper price. I could have not sold the Bitcoin. I got fucked with this play. Yeah, but at the end of the day, bro, I'm just happy to be alive. Thank you for having me on the podcast. I'm grateful to be here, and I look forward to part 2 somewhere around the world.
Thank you so much, man. You're not just an entrepreneur, but you're a role model for many. And our generation obviously needs more role models like you. So from all of them and from our listeners, I'd like to thank you for what you're doing, for putting yourself out there. As you said before, talking truth comes with a lot of criticism and even maybe some threats. And you still do it, right? Without caring about all the threats and criticism that come with it. So
because it's the price, brother. All of them. Aristotle's, Plato, all the greats were once revered as fools. They were burned at the stake. They were laughed at. They were even crucified. And that's the price you have to pay for the exploration of truth. And that's the price you have to pay to unplug people from the bullshit system. And if I got to take a couple arrows for the team, so fucking be it.
Wow. Thank you for reading this tonight, man. It was an absolute hell of a conversation.
Absolutely, bro. Thank you.
Awesome. Cool.